All right, the update as of today. The car is doing good. It just went on its third trip. The first trip I did, it popped the power steering line, made a big mess. I got that cleaned up. I also saw that I made a returnless fuel system as a test, knowing that I could easily make it return, and that was an obvious issue. So I made the car return, and I went out for a second trip, and I only went up and down the road. That's pretty much what those videos were that I uploaded. I literally drove up and down the road, less than 4 miles or so, and came back. And the car had about six miles on it, 6.8 miles. So figured I got everything ironed out. Had to go see my buddy Mitch about 20 miles away. Most of it's highway, so it would be short in town, highway, and then in town. So if I had issues or whatever, it was not sitting in stop and go traffic. The minute I get to about 10 minutes, not even, sorry. The minute I jump on the highway, the car loses fuel pressure and I have to pull over. And luckily, I could just pull over and pull my seat down, and it popped. I had a 10 amp fuse in my lift pump because I figured lifting out of the tank, it wouldn't use that much amperage. I decided to do that, and not entirely sure why. So I was able to move like fuse 4 over into the fuse 1 socket, and then I was back on the road to my buddy Mitch's, and then my trans temps were climbing even though I was in lockup. And I'm like, well, I never verified if my fan was working, and it wasn't working. So we jumped the relay. I got home. It seemed better. I would like to be able to cool the tranny more. So the tranny cooler was running the whole time with lockup on the highway, and it sat at like 180, which isn't bad, but it needs to be able to recover lower than that. I'm not happy if stuff is just running the fan all the time. Like the fan almost never came on my whole drive. The rad was just passively cooling everything. In stop and go traffic, it would barely kick on and just knock all the temps down. That's what I want my transmission cooler to be able to do, knock the temp straight down to below what I think is reasonable. I want to have that recovery because then I can be a maniac and it won't overheat. I got a small transmission cooler. I had a really good deal on it. Figured I'd try it. Has a fan, not good enough. So I ordered a TrueCool 40K, which I hear is like the best stuff ever. And I'm going to mount it up front. I said in another video, I believe, I have like a cavernous amount of space in the front of this car now. So why not get that 40K up there on the real estate? I might be able to use the fan from the other one. I guess we'll see. Like if we're sitting still somewhere, it would be nice to have the fan to cool it instead of that passiveness. So everything else is doing good. The boost is level. Everything's good. Blah, blah, blah. The next thing is the exhaust goes back far enough on this one, but on this side, the exhaust ends at the starter, and it is blowing onto my battery cables, and they're starting to get a little warm, and dirty old plug wires. But anyway, I need a little bit more exhaust. I know once I start doing hardcore street or dyno pulls, I'm probably going to melt my starter positive cable, which I don't want to do. So Tom's working on Arnie's hearse, so I'm kind of waiting on him. Everything else in this car is so nice that I just want to do that. So I figured I would move my tranny cooler from underneath the passenger axle area with the TrueCool 40K to the front. And then we'll have room I'd like to do an X pipe under the tranny and then do like NASCAR exits, like before the front tire right there. I think that'd be worth trying. X pipe, I think, would clean it up. And then with no mufflers or resonators at all, we'll see how it does. And if it's droney in the car, which it's not that bad, honestly, for pointing directly at the firewall, oddly enough. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I need a reality check with the pipes back here. But yeah, I can add mufflers and whatever, and then it'll be neat to see the horsepower difference with very short versus longer, and then with mufflers, because I have loud valves also. I may just really muffle it. What I'd like to do, sorry, let's rewind. I'd like to make hits with it totally like unrestricted, the exhaust as short as possible, and to know it's capable of certain power, right? Obviously you probably make your best power when the exhaust is just out the hood. So it'd be neat to do like semi exit. I want to do tailpipes, but man, it gets real busy with the suspension and sway bar, anti-roll bar, the rest of that stuff. The gas tank in these cars comes down really low, so the solid rear axle's up here and the gas tank is like right here, and you gotta, I don't know if I want to bend 3-inch that much, so I think it's just going to come out by the tire. We'll see how it is, see how it sounds, blah, blah, blah. And so I have a lot of options, and I can't decide on any, and that's part of the issue is figuring out what I want to do. And then got to fit the front end with the hood and do the latches, which I also want Tom to do, but there's plenty of stuff for me to clean up before I start making dyno numbers and getting too far and not finishing any of it. So we got to do all that. I got to make dump tubes for my wastegates. They dump like right here into the bumper, basically. Pretty cool. So I don't want to melt a bunch of stuff before I get too far. And it's got to make a bunch more short drives before we go to the dyno. The other thing is boost control is set up, wired, plumbed. So next time or two I go out, I want to target. It makes 6 pounds on the gate. I need to target like 10, 12, 14 and just make sure boost controller is working and duty cycle isn't excessive. There's a lot of stuff to check on that because I'd rather move fast on the boost amount when I get to the roller than troubleshoot. So the other thing I did was I put the bolts in here, and guess what? It doesn't spray oil everywhere. And the other cool thing is I did the vent here until I get the catch can and some other stuff, and it pees a tiny bit of oil when it comes back in from the vapor in the tube. But that's my solution till there's a can for now. Other than that, fuel pressure is doing really good. Everything else in the log is good. The more data I get, the more interesting it is, with the boost pressure being lower out of the turbo than in the intake. So there's a lot to examine on that. We're going to see what it does at higher boost levels, and there's a lot of theories. So a lot going on. That's why the data is really neat to have. And then hopefully dyno time soon. The other thing is I'm not really happy with my brake setup. I bought a stock. This is overfilled. That's why there's a little bit of fluid. So this is like the D100. I was going to do manual brakes, and I was going to do hydro boost. And then my cylinder heads are really tall, so I barely fit the Fairmont booster in here with this valve cover. And I have crappy brake pedal feel. It feels like manual brakes, but that's a manual master. So I guess I screwed up where I remember someone telling me that this a vacuum booster and a manual cylinder will work together, work really well, and it's not working out. So I bought a stock V6 master. So I'm gonna get the lines remade. It's smaller than this, so it should fit really good. I'm gonna get the lines remade. That's meant to work with vacuum and everything else, so I'm gonna go over all that. But it stops, but I want it to stop way better, and it should with the hardware it has. It should stop much better. Oh, I think that about wraps all this up. I'm gonna put the videos of it cruising around making turbo noises first. Just know it's coming, but a lot of it's so nice I can't shortcut now, and a lot of it's so expensive that I don't want to break it, disappoint people who sponsored, and have to replace expensive stuff. So hope you can relate and understand. Okay, thanks, bye.